Pittsburgh Steelers defensive end Cameron Heyward is holding out of all offseason program activities for the Steelers in hopes of a new contract. So, before I get more into it, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news and updates. Also, like the video. Now, let's get right back into it. So, Cameron Heyward, he is entering the last season of his contract. And obviously, he clearly wants a new deal and more long-term stability with the team in the NFL because he still feels as though he could play. A story came out about a week ago of him saying that he wants to play like at least 3 more seasons, which is a lot because he's 35 years old and his injuries have caught up to him, especially last season, missing like half the season. But anyway, more about that later. But with him sitting out of off-season workouts, the team may have to look to expedite the process of extending him before things extend into training camp. So, this story first broke around yesterday because Brooke Pryor, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN said that Cameron Heyward has not and will not participate in any voluntary off-season workouts and does not plan to attend OTAs because he is seeking a contract extension. So, in case you don't know, Cameron Heyward, he's due around $16 million this season, and he may want some new money this year on top of an extension as well to kind of secure future earnings. And he's the only player we know so far for the Steelers who is holding out and sitting out of voluntary workouts. And given that Cameron Heyward is supposed to be the leader and the longest tenured player on the team, it's a notable story to watch because he is the captain of the team. He's been there the longest and he's been there on the defense and he's just the voice of the team and it's especially the defense. The kind of weird thing about this situation is that Cameron Heyward, after the wildcard loss to the Buffalo Bills, it seemed like he was kind of unsure about his health in terms of being healthy. He said he wants to play, still keep on playing, but he's unsure about his health and he needs to just get back healthy first. So wanting 3 more years after dealing with those injuries, having core muscle issues, that's just maybe not a good sign for the Steelers in terms of having a huge long-term extension. If you're going to give him a contract extension, there's no way you could sign him until he's 38 years old, making him one of the highest paid defensive ends. That's just not going to bode well for the Steelers. So, obviously, it puts them in a tough situation because he is the longest tenured Steeler. He's been on the team the longest. He's the voice of the team. And since 2019, he has registered the most defensive stops in the league with 242. So obviously his next-gen stats and the 3rd most sacks among interior rushers during that span with a 58.5. Those stats show that he can still play at a high level, but obviously he's getting up there in age. And at some point he's going to start to dip. Those injuries are going to start taking place, and it's just going to be a bad contract overall. But that's the Steelers' opinion. They need to do what they think is right, but this is just my thoughts on the topic. And looking at Cameron Heyward, it seems as though he's basically done everything right since he's been in the NFL, basically having no drama surrounding him and the team in general surrounding his name. You just look at him just this year. He's been Walter Payton Man of the Year. And he's always been a finalist or always been one of the people who got voted by the team to be competing for that award. So it's like he's always been a good positive light for the Steelers. So that's why it's going to be a tough decision on what they end up doing with him. There were some obviously rumors that the Pittsburgh Steelers, they might have to cut him to save some money. And obviously the Steelers weren't going to do that. That was never a possibility, the Steelers cutting Cameron Heyward. Even though many people talked about it, it was in the reports, rumors, earlier in the offseason, just when the Steelers are trying to make for some free agency moves. Would they do that to save money? They weren't going to do it, but that was in the rumors. Now, looking at this situation, I believe the Steelers and Cameron Heyward probably do want to get a contract extension done just to bring down his money for this season and maybe have him under contract for future years. But I just don't think they want to do it at a very high price in which it could hurt the team down the road. So let's just take a look to see what Cameron Heyward's currently earning and maybe some other people around the league and maybe what his contract might look like if he did get an extension. So currently Cameron Heyward, he's set to earn around $16 million in 2024 on the last year of his contract. And just looking at an extension that maybe he could have in 2025, 2026, the base salaries would likely be north of $20 million. And that would mean that he would jump into the top 10 highest paid players in the interior defensive line position. So that could really get tricky if the Steelers decide to do that, because is he still a top 10 defensive end? He probably thinks he deserves it based off his past, but we have to project what he's going to do for the next 2 years. You're not paying someone for what they've done in the past. You're paying for them for what they might do for you in the future. So that's where it gets tricky. Obviously, the Steelers could give him a bonus this season. Like, just say, for example, the Steelers could give Cameron Heyward $22 million for this season instead of $16 million, which would be $6 million more than what he's currently scheduled to earn. And this would be if 2 additional years were then tackled onto his contract, and if the $1.21 million of the $22 million was given to him in the form of a signing bonus. Heyward's 2024 salary would then drop from $22.4 million to $14.5 million, a decreased $7.86 million in general towards the cap. So obviously they could do it in terms of that, where they add on those additional 2 kind of years on the back end of the contract to kind of save money for the season. So that's one way they could do it. But just in general, the Steelers are going to have to figure this thing out. And Cameron Heyward, he even spoke on the situation on his podcast, kind of talking about the story that he's sitting out of voluntary workouts. And this is what he had to say. This is why he said he has done it. Here's the quote. "First of all, is it voluntary? Let's get that straight. I'm working out, doing everything. I've always attended these, but at this time, it's just contract negotiations. I want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, but we'll see what happens. You got to do what's right for you. I'm training hard. There's nothing I'm not doing on and off the field. I'm doing everything possible, and we'll get there when we get there." End quote. So the interesting thing in that is he said it's just voluntary, but then he says that he's never missed the voluntary workouts, and he hasn't. Since he's been a Pittsburgh Steeler, he's never missed the voluntary sessions in terms of the Pittsburgh Steelers, never missed training camp, OTAs. He never did that voluntarily missed it. If he missed some time due to injury, sure, but he's never just missed it in general just to miss it, like he is doing now. And he says that it's just voluntary, but he's never missed it. So obviously he's doing it for a reason, and he's doing it because of a contract. And the thing about this situation is, if you remember, Diontae Johnson, he's up for a contract. This is going to be his final season with the Carolina Panthers now. Even though he was a Pittsburgh Steeler, it was going to be his last season with the Steelers because he's in the final year of his contract. And the big thing surrounding him was, hey, Diontae Johnson might hold out. He might hold in, maybe not participate in these stuff because he's going to be seeking a new contract. And the big storyline around him is, no, trade him, get rid of him, because we can't go through this again. We can't go through all this drama. So that was a big thing surrounding him. But now the drama is on Cameron Heyward because he's doing the exact same thing that we did not want Diontae Johnson to do. And this is supposed to be a season of drama-free things surrounding the Steelers. We traded away Diontae Johnson, get rid of them. We traded away Kenny Pickett, got rid of him. Mitchell Trubisky, he's gone. Got rid of all the negative things that apparently were surrounding the Steelers. But now this is surrounding the Steelers. This contract hold-in, this contract hold-out, whatever you want to call it. The same thing we didn't want Diontae Johnson to do. We're going to say, hey, Cameron Heyward's allowed to do it because he's been on the team the longest. That's where we get into a difficult situation because we're talking about this with Diontae Johnson and now it's happening with Cameron Heyward. Obviously, this has happened in the past with Minkah Fitzpatrick, with TJ Watt. Diontae Johnson did it years back with his contract, but we did not want it to happen again this season and other things surrounding the team. But it looks like it's going to be happening unless this thing gets done quickly where they agree to a contract. But anyway, Cameron Heyward, he is the leader of the team. He has been the most productive on the team other than TJ Watt on the defense for many years. So obviously he expects a new contract. He more than probably will get one. But is it going to be a good contract in the future for the Steelers or will it end up hurting them? That's we're going to have to wait and see on that, especially if he moves into the top 10 in terms of money earned. That could just hurt the Steelers even more in terms of what they could spend on their team to actually fix their team, and not just giving away money just to give it to the Walter Payton Man of the Year, give it to the guy who's been the captain, and just to reward him for his past years. You have to look at what he's going to do in the future. But anyway, that's just my thoughts. This is the topic surrounding the Steelers right now, and something that just is an update that was reported yesterday. We didn't know he was missing the voluntary workouts purposely, but now we do. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on his comments of why he's missing it, and your thoughts on him just missing it in general, and the Deontay Johnson situation, like I said, and how Cameron Heyward is basically doing the same thing we did not want Deontay Johnson to do, and how we wanted Deontay Johnson gone because of it. And let me know your thoughts on if the Steelers should give him a contract, a 3-year deal, moving him into the top 10 in the money category. And also, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news and updates. I cover everything surrounding the Steelers, giving my opinions, but also reporting on all the news as well. Also, make sure you like the video. But until next time, I'll see you guys all later. I'm out. Peace.